welcome to Magical Aspirations, a podcast for magical people where we aspire to gather all of the knowledge magic has to offer, a place to illuminate and demystify all things magical. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Magical Aspirations. It is Adriana, and of course, like always, I am joined by Reverend Raven,
Coco,
and Annalisa.
hello.
And today, on this beautiful Sunday, it's Tuesday when y'all are listening, but we are going to be talking about home and hearth magic. Of course, ringing in Cancer season, diving into witches and rituals and spells and plants that make our home, whether that is your physical home or your body home, feeling all juicy, magical, and spectacular. So today we're actually going to be interviewing Annalisa, which we're so excited about, and diving into all the things that she does to bring in her magic into her home and hearth. So let's get it started.
Let's do it.
Okay, so Annalisa, of course, we have to start off by asking you, what are your magical aspirations?
And what are my magical aspirations? Knowing that we were coming up on this, I actually sat down and meditated on this for a really, really long time. And I wrote a little something, and this is what I got. My magical aspirations are to use my voice in this platform to make people feel empowered in using their voices and their magic to fight for what they think is important, no matter what it is, especially if it's something different than what we are saying. We're still living in times where rights are not equally afforded to all people, no matter what. And I think that part of our responsibility and the responsibility we're laying on everybody else is that you got to stand the hell up and let your light shine. And when you don't honor whatever your magic is, like I said, even if it's different from what I or we are saying, that it's still really important. Current events with everything with Roe v. Wade going on right now, it's really made me redefine what I'm willing to fight for. And so, yeah, that's where my magical aspirations are at this point in time.
We love an advocacy queen.
Yes, I really love that too, because of course, whenever we recorded our first episode, we went around and said what our magical aspirations are. And that was just a few months ago. And it's just really neat to look back and reflect on how much that we have all grown personally through this podcast journey too.
Absolutely. And that's where this really came from, was that I'm someone who I have felt that my voice has been really stifled through different points in my life, not just by outside forces, but a lot by the inside forces and the conditioning and all of that crap that goes along with making you who you are. And sitting here in this chair in front of this microphone really makes me think twice about where I stand on things and what my values and my beliefs and all of that are. Because to be able to sit here and talk about it, you got to be steadfast in it. And certainly the things that we talk about here, I feel really, really passionately about. And I have felt that resolve really thicken kind of with every passing week that we do this.
I resonate with that 100%. And I just have to throw your 2 cents towards you and just being really proud of how you have allowed not only this experience with doing the podcast, but just following that call, answering it, doing it instead of just dreaming about it. And I think that's really beautiful to see you stepping into your voice and your power. So it's yeah, bitch, do it.
Yay! I appreciate that so much, because I've certainly said it before that the two of you have been big integral parts of my healing journey. And I find myself almost unrecognizable from maybe this time, say last year, and that's a big check in the to-do list. I can finally be okay, good. We're actually moving forward.
How beautiful. How beautiful. Okay, so diving into home and hearth magic, when
Mhm.
you hear that, what does that mean to you?
Hearth magic means, we've touched on it on episodes before, but for me, it's all about it's about the home and what that fire is. The hearth in traditional homes is where the cooking fire, for lack of a better terms, would be, especially when you go back to ye olden times. The hearth was where the big pot was and where everybody made their tea and would sit around the fire for warmth and tell stories and pass all of these things down. And we don't really get that so much anymore. I'm actually really excited today. Of my mother's side of the family is going to be getting together for the whole family for the first time in probably since I think my mama died 4 or 5 years ago. But like, that's also hearth magic, about just being able to join with a group of people, whether it's around an actual fire or just a fictitious fire. Because like, I don't have a fireplace, but I have like a Himalayan salt lamp that sits in my living room, and it's around the center point where people can gather. And it has this really cool, like almost heartbeat type glow to it, which I really appreciate, because that it's this like just magical ambiance that flows out into my home. And actually, just a couple of nights ago, right on the new moon in Cancer that just passed, I re-amplified a little spell jar that I had done maybe about this time last year that was supposed to, bring certain things to the home. And what I really focused on for this re-amplification was bringing magic, love, happiness, and passion into the home. And all I did was, I had a jar that I had previously, put some herbs and some words and some ways into, and burned a candle over the top of it. And I burned 4 candles on top of it. One for happiness, one for passion, magic, and love. And weaved a bunch of herbs into it. And I had the intention to write it all down. And I didn't. And that was different for me, because if you know me, I can get a little type A with the lists and the notebooks and all of that. This was some willy-nilly shit that I did. I just like went to my little magic box, flipped that sucker open. I just started like throwing bags of herbs around, and whatever stayed on the table, what got thrown into it. And it has certainly laid for, in the last few days, I feel a very big re-amplification, and that's what I was really going for. And I found that interesting, because I've never been led to do that before. It's always been new spell, new spell, new spell. But there was something about solidifying your home, that it's not always about new. It's just about renewing what you've already got.
I love that. That is so cool, because as practitioners and people, we are constantly improving on our foundation. Like, we're constantly changing and making things better. We're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, you know? So magically, to like re-amplify something that you already put a lot of energy to and has basically been gaining momentum and charging over this time frame, and then to go back in and add new magic to it, I think that that's super powerful.
I
Yeah.
agree. It was a really empowering moment.
And for you just to be grabbing bags of herbs, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
You're just listening to spirit and doing what you were guided to do, instead of having to look up what's this for. Let's write it all down, make sure it's in the right order, and like all of this. And that works for some people, but I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in the what we should be doing that we don't allow the magic to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that it's like a sign too that you have leveled up, madame. You have leveled up.
I that just makes me so happy to hear you guys say that.
We're so proud of you.
Thank you.
You got your big witch panties on.
I do. And with every new pair of big witch panties, it gets a little bit easier to talk about. But when you guys asked me if I wanted to be interviewed, one of the things that I wanted to talk about that I think is important for all of our magical practitioners out there, but even our non-magical practitioners, is totally just imposter syndrome. Especially after starting this podcast. And I'm someone who over the last year and a half before starting the podcast just began inhaling is the only word for it. Just inhaling other podcasts of like similar topics just to try and gather where I wanted it to go, what I wanted us to talk about. And sometimes now, especially on Tuesdays when the podcast drops, I'll go and I'll listen to ours because I'm just want to make sure everything sounds good and all of that. And I'll either have just come from listening to another podcast or I'll go jump immediately into another one. And it's almost every week I start to immediately start doubting what we talked about or like what I said. Like we joke about having these Mr. Miyagi moments, but it really does, the imposter syndrome sets in big time. And I kind of just wanted to chat about, like, get you ladies' opinion, because I don't think we've ever talked about that before.
Oh, girl, I got a lot to say about this. I actually was talking about this last night with Jackie.
No coincidence.
Yep, of course. We had a big group ritual with my heathen kindred, and afterwards we were all just kind of vibing and making music and hanging out and processing our emotions of things that have happened over the last few weeks and everything. And people voicing the opinion of, I'm just not ready to share what I have with others yet. But it's like, who am I to shine so brightly? And I finally just interrupted her and said, who are you not to share that though? If what you have is coming from spirit, you're channeling those messages from spirit, whether it's in how you dance or what you say, whatever your expression is, it's not you. It's not coming from you. It's coming from spirit. And if you are ego led, then you will be worried about, how do I sound? How did I look? Did I do the right movement? Did I say the right words? All of that, because you don't want to look silly. But if you can push that aside because you know that you're doing it with your connection from spirit, then it doesn't fucking matter. The right thing will happen. The right thing is going to come out of your mouth. My voice might be scratchy, but you're going to hear the message that I have to share. I danced in front of people for the first time last night. I just vibe, all the fucking time. I'll just stand there and dance, no big deal. But in ritual, I turned on a song that I had never heard before, and I danced in front of my family. And it was a really special experience because I have always had these doubts of like, oh, I can't keep rhythm, I'm off beat, I'm not a good dancer, I have 2 left feet, like all of these negative thoughts about why I shouldn't dance. But in that moment, it brought me so much peace and so much freedom because it wasn't me like thinking about, oh, let's do this move and let's move here and move your hands like this and whatever. I was channeling from spirit, and it was an expression of my gratitude for the sun and being grateful to be a part of a family unit. And just to be able to express that, it was super fucking powerful.
This is why you're in my love army, ma'am.
Like I said, it was the first time. Like, I always act like I'm so confident about everything, but not about dancing. I'm fucking terrified to dance in front of people when everybody's looking at me. Like, I'll be vibing and people are like, oh, I like how you dance, or make some comment. And I'm like, I'm not dancing for you. Like, please don't look at me.
Right.
Yeah. That's pretty special. That's really special. And I think I feel you, Annalisa, when it comes to the listening to our podcast, comparing it to other podcasts, and even like since when y'all interviewed me when we talked about mediumship and ancestors, I did not listen to it for a few days because I was like, oh my god, no. And I was just having a lot of thoughts, but then Jackie, once again, she had posted this, made this post on Facebook about the way that she connects with the ancestors, and she had mentioned it all started when she had listened to that particular episode. And I was like, oh, this is how we do what we do. Okay. And imposter syndrome is so disgusting, and it's everywhere. And I think with this rise of social media, rise of technology, we're consistently being hit with like these great big hits from people. And so we're expecting that our thing that we put out there, whatever it is supposed to be the great big hit. Instead of appreciating the little ways, appreciating the little moments, the little seeds, the little new leaf, or whatever the case may be. It doesn't have to be a big ass tree every single time that we put something out there. And I think the foundation, this is our home and hearth, like this project, this podcast. And like you were talking about, you are re-amplifying a spell jar for yourself in your home. This podcast has a foundation, and we just keep building on it and building on it and building on it. And the more that we challenge ourselves, and the more that we ask questions and do stuff that's new, and explore topics that maybe scare us a little bit, it just continues to re-amplify the foundation, which is to explore magic at the end of the day and to empower. So each time we record is us saying like, yeah, fuck you, imposter syndrome, fuck you.
Hell
Agreed.
yeah.
I totally agree with that, because it's like I was saying earlier about my voice being scratchy or things like that, being worried about, do I have everything written down in the right order of like how I'm going to present this? This isn't a public speaking competition, which I've done. This is us being real. We are real magical practitioners. And the more real that we are, the more people will resonate with that. And I think
absolutely
that's what helps me to kind of throw that imposter syndrome out the window. It's like, I'm not trying to be like those other, podcasts. And, it's like when you see a reel on Facebook and it's like 20 seconds. Well, you know that person was recording for 20 minutes at least, maybe hours of footage to get that. And then they edit it down and like do all this processing with it. And it's a lot of fucking work to put something out that's 20 seconds long. But we only see this like quote unquote perfect looking thing and think that, try to hold ourselves up to that standard. Well, that's not fucking realistic. That's not them being authentic. I'm not bashing anybody for doing those things, but we need to look at that and be like, wow, this is something that they professionally produced, not something that they just like popped on and, recorded. So don't hold ourselves to that standard thinking that, we're going to be able to come up with that quality of production, first off. And second off, that's not what we're about. It doesn't fucking matter.
Exactly. If you know me personally, I am not a clean, edited person. You pretty much what's standing in front of you is what you're always going to get. And I was just recently chatting with one of my coworkers about how she's never really listened to podcasts before, but me talking about mine opened the door for her to start to find something that she liked. And we were just kind of chatting about that. And she was like, oh, I really need to go and listen to yours and all this stuff. And I was like, it's like, I don't want you to feel pressured that just because you know me and you support me that you have to go and listen to it. And that I just said, you guys, I just want everybody to know that like, this is a conversation that the three of us would probably be having even if there wasn't a microphone sitting in front of us. The only change is now that we're just recording and we're putting it out there for people to listen to. And Becky, one of the things that I wanted to mention about that I really appreciate about you've mentioned a couple times about like your voice being scratchy or things like that. Listening back to all of the podcasts, especially in the Reverend Raven's reflections, the inflection of your voice I can clearly hone in on what emotion you're feeling. And I love that so much about you, because you don't edit that out. You don't try to remove the emotion from your voice so that you can sound put together or some other stupid fucking word. Like, you really just let your emotions flow. And like, that's what magic is really about, is letting it flow.
Right.
Facts. I love your voice. I
Thank
absolutely
you.
love it.
I love your voice, Becky. I do.
Thank you. I really want us to be able to be authentic. And that's really the thing for me. It's not about us sounding polished and put together. Like, I'm a hot mess sometimes, but I'm gonna be I can be a hot mess as Reverend Raven too, you know, that's part of who I am. And so, you know, if I can channel messages from spirit that might resonate with people, then cool.
Well, and I love this idea that we're like postulating about hearth magic not even being about like what's surrounding you, but about the foundation underneath you. And it's just so on point for what we were talking about before we even got on here, and about Cancer season. Cancer season is the crab. You know, the crab is like the turtle that pretty much its home is around it. You know, it doesn't retreat as much into its shell like a turtle would, but without that solidness of the shell around it. Like, and that's what I'm just spitting some shit out here. I don't know where this is coming from, but like, just how the crab like sheds its shell and then like it rehardens again. Like, I think that's just a little clarity I got about my little candle reamplification spell that I did. Okay, cool. See, we just listen to the messages, people. Like,
Yes. And that's something that I wanted to bring up too, is like feeling at home within yourself. Short of my childhood home, my family farm, I haven't lived anywhere for a long stretch of time. I've never owned my own home. I've moved all over the fucking place so many times. But your home is the sense of belonging. It's the place where you feel safe and secure. It doesn't necessarily have to be the building or the place or whatever. That quote unquote place is what you make it. So it's an extension of yourself, of your spirit, of your heart, things like that. And so kind of no matter where I am, I can make that feel like my home. I have a really this story just popped up in my mind. This is really interesting. I have gotten to go to Brazil twice on study abroad programs. And the first time that I went to Brazil, it was with the agriculture program at Purdue. And we were traveling all over the country. We went to 10 different destinations, and we were learning about different agriculture systems. And I distinctly remember standing in the middle of a field in nowhere, Brazil, never been there before, having this feeling of home, of feeling so familiar, like my heart had been there before. And it was so odd in that moment, because I was like, I've never been here before. Like, why does this feel so comfortable to me? And had a very similar experience the first time that I came to New Orleans. I was a 17-year-old on spring break for vacation, and I remember walking down to the banks of the Mississippi River when you could still do that. Now it's all rocks and everything else. But I remember walking down there on the bank and standing there and feeling at home.
Same. I that's how I felt about when I visited Kingston, Jamaica. Words cannot express that feeling of home that you're talking about. That as soon as I landed and was talking to people, learning more, and just like walking down the street, we were walking to the grocery store, and I felt like everything was right in the world, because that place just felt so like me. It felt like me. So I totally understand. And New Orleans is the same way. Same way. I feel like I was blessed to be able to live in New Orleans because I feel like, yeah, I'm a Tennessee girl. Okay, great. But I think Tennessee raised me in like childhood, but I think New Orleans raised me in my adulthood. And I will always be grateful for that beautiful, glorious city. I miss it already, but yeah, home is a special kind of place, special kind of feeling, and it's something that I feel like everybody is chasing at the end of the day. Where's home? Where's home? In people, in relationships, addictions, and these temporary things. And at the end of the day, like, home is you. You are the home. And like you said, everything is just an extension of who you are. So
100. Like, that's the message, people. Like, mic drop, that's it, we're done. Boop, home is you.
Okay, bye.
But so with that in mind, I feel like you can carry that home, that feeling of home with you. So it's like when you go to work in the day, you know, whenever you go on vacation, things like that, you can bring pieces of home with you wherever you go, and you can feel comfortable within, you know, yourself. And maybe those are physical things, or maybe that's the feeling, you know, within your heart, things that are familiar to make you feel more comfortable and grounded where you are. And that will allow you to have new experiences with a feeling of comfort. But sometimes doing new things can be really fucking scary.
Absolutely. Terrifying.
Definitely. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
So, Annalisa, can I ask you?
Of course.
So with your home and hearth magic, and you know, first of all, I love how you asked a question and it turned into all of us when you were the one that was supposed to be getting interviewed. Love that.
I can't help myself.
So when you like do your hearth magic, what fuels it? Where does it come from? Where did you learn? How did it come up in you?
Organically. That's the only I am a researcher. I love to read about stuff. The last, I don't know, 3 months, I have been pounding down almost nothing but like documentaries and about some bizarre ass shit. Like, I just like taking in information. And the hearth magic has been something that just like a weed is what's coming to mind. It just like sprung up, and it was something that was like, oh, hi, here's a crack in the foundation. We're going to figure out a way to make this more solid. Something that I actually just figured out as I was doing that little reamplification jar candle dealio, is that I have started to realize that I'm like a storm witch also. Some of my most powerful some of my most powerful occurrences, I mentioned one not too long ago about this connection that I got to have with the guardians of my land. It's the summertime in the swamp, so these little pop-up storms happen all the time, and almost magically, whenever I start doing something especially pertaining to my home or my land, the weather kicks up and the thunder starts booming, and like I can almost feel like I'm talking to the storm, because like I'll say something and I can tell when I'm like hitting home, because like the thunder will get really loud. Or like if it's something that this happened this past time, I said something that felt feeble almost coming out of my mouth, and there was this little pooty, like, I don't know, it sounded like a fart type of thunder. And like I looked up and I was like, really? And there was silence. And then like I resaid what I was trying to say with different words. And then there was this big resounding thunder. And I was like, oh shit.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
I do. So that's been a fun new little journey, and that's all I wrote was, I'm a weather storm witch. Embrace this magic.
Yes. I love that.
Oh my God. I wish more people would talk about storm magic because woo! That shit is electrifying.
It's literally, that's the only word for it, is it's electrifying. Like
And it reminds me of like the magic that you set in place during the hurricane and like that experience that you had in your new home. Your new home. You were like, fuck no, we are not.
Fuck no, not my home. No. And I was really, the only word for it is like moved. I felt this movement of unsafety, and all of a sudden I just started like I did with this candle, I just started pulling the oils and crystals, and there were a couple of crystals that I did go specifically seek out. Anyone, if you're looking to do hurricane magic on your house, mahogany obsidian is the thing you need to buy. But like most of the things that I used were things that I had around my house. One of the things that I keep using in my most potent spells, I have found, is actually, Adriana, some of your oils that I bought from you many years ago. The prosperity and the abundance oil, the catalyst oil. The catalyst oil, I soaked all of my crystals. Those are what's buried around the property. And like, that was the one of the moments that I looked at my husband and was like, shit about to get weird. Don't judge me. Like, I just, started drawing sigils on the house and the car with oil and all of this. And that was a really cool, that it's time. It's hurricane season again. I'm going to have to go re-amplify all of that.
Like, babe, if you didn't know I was a witch, then you know now. You know now.
One of the things I have to
If you don't know, now you know.
No. I have treated him like that of recent years lately, as I've started to be more out of the closet about it. But then I start to really look back, and like, I have shown him exactly who I was from the very beginning, and he has never even batted an eye. And I still somehow feel this resistance to be, I don't know if it's just like an old fear of like secrecy in the craft or whatever. I don't know, but it is, I'm feeling the need to note that about how hard it is sometimes to be open and out about it, like, I think I still subconsciously like fear prosecution.
I can, yeah.
Evidently, we're going there.
Yeah. We're all like, oh.
Yeah, that's deep though. I think I 100% resonate with that, especially with my partner Kiera, and she, both of us having such a strong church background. Like, we have family members who were leaders in the church, and so we're both like navigating what that means for us now. And so even I just recently did a simmer pot, and I was like not wanting to be too like, hey babe, this is what I'm doing, like that. I was like, yeah, it's just to make the home smell good and all of that. But like, she knows me. She knows what I'm doing.
She knows what's really up.
But it is real. It's real, because I think something that's come up for me is that like, this is my person, and one, I don't want them to be uncomfortable. I don't want her to feel like she is being judged for, however she identifies as a spiritual person. But then also there's this, like, you're the closest person to me right now, and if you hurt me, then I'm like gonna fall apart. Like, that's what's come up for me.
That right there. Because like, I have long said that for my own to survive, I have to be first. Like, that's probably to a lot of people going to sound selfish and strange, especially being a woman, but like, I have to put me first, because I don't think I would survive without it. But like, in that same stretch, like, he is a very, very close, I don't even want to say second, like, like, if I'm the line there, he's like right in our relationship, and all of that is so also deeply important to me. So like, it is sometimes a really hard balance between making sure that they're comfortable, but then I also have to make sure that like I'm comfortable. And if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
comfortable, how are we ever going to be comfortable? And I have
Mm.
found as I
That.
have started, yeah, because like
That.
as I have actually started to be transparent about it, and like I've said before, like we don't necessarily like talk about it because I don't think he listens to the podcast simply because it's just not his thing. And like that is okay too.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
to be able,
Mhm.
but like I will not be persecuted in my own home for my beliefs. And he does a very good job
Mm.
of making me not feel that. Because I've said it, it's everywhere. Like there's crystals, there's herbs, there's all kind of I keep some of my extra weird shit for when he's not home. But like, mostly because I do feel is just from the point of being a real solo practitioner of that it
Yeah.
is I don't connect. There is certainly something to be said for connecting in a group, but for me to connect with spirit, I do it much deeper on my own.
100%. 100%. Woo, damn.
I know.
So I want
Ooh.
to jump back to something whenever you were talking about the storm magic and everything and doing hurricane protection. It really like pulled me to the fact that you, Annalisa, you are from the swamp. You are from Louisiana, and this is your home.
Mm.
And so you have a very special connection with the land itself.
Mm.
And so I guess I to form that in a question, how do you feel yourself connecting with the land over your life, and how do you feel that that's changed as your magical practice has changed?
Really good question. Really good question. Because so I grew up about 30, 40 minutes outside of New Orleans. And I didn't realize when I was growing up how much in the swamp I actually was because I lived in a pretty developed neighborhood. So like it appeared not as swampy as it actually was. And like as I've started to care more about the weather and like watching like hurricanes and things like that, I've really looked at it and like the swamp was in my backyard. And I just about a month or so ago went to the West Coast for the first time, and the travel portion of it was just an absolute nightmare. And finally flying back in to MSY and seeing the swamps underneath us, like it almost brought me to tears. And that's never happened before. Like and I'm going to probably get a little emotional about it now. I've never really given much gratitude for the swamp. And that is something that I'm really starting to, I don't know the word for that yet. It hasn't come to me, but there is something there to that, Becky. So I'm really glad you asked that, because I've said it before. I'm a really big Avatar, The Last Airbender fan. And, everybody always fantasizes about, what kind of bender would they be? And I have anyone who else is an Avatar nerd out there. I do always feel some weird connection to the swamp, like grass, mud bender.
They were epic.
Because I'm a total swamp witch. I'm a total
Yes.
swamp witch. Oh my God.
Yes. Yes.
Proclaim it.
This is
And
live
I think
realization happening.
Yeah, I think that's really special. Something that happened whenever I moved here and started meeting more and more people who grew up around the swamps, at least. They have a different energy, a different kind of magic, and a very special connection to the land. And you can just see it in them. They'll just be talking and carrying on about something, and then you can see them when they're talking about, crabbing with their uncle so and so, and whatever the thing is that they're talking about, that passion and that connection to the energy of the swamps.
Whew. Okay, so this is live magic happening right now, you guys. I'm getting this. So we talk about Avatar. Anybody who doesn't know about Avatar, The Last Airbender, the briefest of summations of it is that it has a lot to do with embodying the elements individually, but then also the Avatar embodies them all together. And that is the power of being a swamp witch. Because think about, like, I'm picturing myself like in the swamp, right? Obviously it's water and it's earth because it's the mud. Like that's there also. But if you've never been to the swamp, it's fucking hot. So the air is hot and wet. So you've got fire and water and air there. But then anybody who's also been like deep in the swamp, you know, and you can feel that there is this just like magic or spirit or something. So like, ooh, I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but am I the avatar?
First off, absolutely you are. Second off, I know exactly what you're talking about with that connection and that spirit of the swamp. And growing up, I felt that whenever I would be in the forest. It was a different ecosystem and a different environment, but that was where I felt at home.
That's how I feel every single time I get in a body of water. Every single time. Ooh, okay. Wow.
Well, I know, I'm just like soaking that in for a minute because like that, like I said, people, this is live action. Like this is, we didn't even talk about this conversation we were going to have before we got here. This is all. So I pulled some cards and I love how they're just so positively fitting for this situation. The first one that I got, the Queen of Cups. I'm using the 8-coin tarot, tattoo tarot deck, which was one of my first decks gifted to me by a friend, and it's really beautiful. So the Queen of Cups she's just like this pretty put together little bust with like teal hair, and there's these like half naked mermaids next to her, and like she really is just about being like intuitive and in flow and like emotionally stable and all these things. And that's a really important part of her Hearth magic. And I also got the Knight of Wands. In this deck, it's depicted as this beautiful red-haired, long-haired knight. She's freaking beautiful. And the knight's, she's energy, she's passion, she's lust, action, all these things. And then I also got the Chariot, which is so appropriate for what the definition of Hearth magic is, right? Like
I love that. I love all of those together. That's such an incredible message. And it goes back to, the cards are helping us access information that we already have within us. You didn't know you knew that, but Queen of Cups,
I didn't know
that Queen of Cups, she's a swamp witch.
That's the colors.
Okay, and is.
How cool. Magic is real.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Magic is real. Bye.
I guess did we ask you what are you studying right now?
We haven't yet.
No, you didn't. So I guess you just asked it. What am I not studying might be a better question, because I am all over the place all the time. I have a lot of like magic ADD. So I'm reading this really cool book called Horse Magic. That's the thing that's jumping out to me right now. And the book is called Horse Magic, Spells and Rituals for Self-Empowerment, Protection, and Prosperity by Lauren Leo and Dominic Leo. I think they're a brother and a sister. It's just this really cool book that's got a bunch of like history of like famous horses and mythical horses. And there's a bunch of these cool spells that are, they embody okay, here we go. So the page that just jumped out to me is a spell to call your personal dream horse. So I guess that's what I'm going to be studying today.
That's pretty epic.
Dream horses.
Oh my God. We were talking about dreams before I fucking got on here, weren't we?
Yep.
Jeez.
That's impressive.
That's
I wasn't
cool.
expecting the horse magic, but I'm here for it.
Oh yeah. Well, because I am the horse. Like that is, I have been asking for a horse for Christmas since I knew what horses and Christmas were. I'm a 33-year-old woman, and I still, every Christmas, the first thing I do is I just look outside just to check and see if there's a horse there. I don't know. I've got this real draw to horses, and I think that I am also a level 2 Reiki practitioner. So I think that there's something that I'm supposed to do with the two of those things.
Oh, that so
Interesting.
do you ride at all?
I do not, and there keeps being like blocks and resistance, so I think I'm just not there yet, but I know the passion I have for healing and talking with animals, and there is just like horses, there is an emotional something there. Okay, so to put my husband on blast for just like a second, Isaac, I'm really sorry that I'm telling this story, but we were driving somewhere and there were all of these horses around, and I was just talking about it, and he is a very practical man, and he looked at me and he just said, we will probably never be in a position in our life where we will be able to own a horse. And guys, when I tell you I fucking cried, it was just this emotional, like, you will not tell me that I can't have a horse, because I will at some point. So I'm not giving up.
Yes.
I have a couple nuggets of wisdom as a farm girl here for you. First thing that comes to my mind when you say horses and horse magic is that horses have that free spirit. And even when they are broke, I put in quotes, if you break their spirit, they're not horses anymore, to be honest. And part of working with horses, I feel like, is not breaking their spirit. And I have a really practical fear of horses because my first vet clinic job, I worked for an equine veterinarian, and we had to bring all of the mares in every Saturday to see if they were in heat. So it was time to breed them. And they had a couple stallions on site, which were very dangerous. And I was leading my mare out, and it was this really like high-strung Clydesdale mare. And, she's in heat. And so she's got, all her panties in a bunch and everything else. And she goes to bite this other mare on the ass as I'm leading her out of the barn. And the other one goes to kick her. And the hoof goes right over the top of my head.
Ooh.
Literally hear it whiff.
Ooh.
Right over my head. And so I've worked around horses a lot. But I've spent a lot of that time making sure that I don't get fucking hurt. Because as cool animals as they are wild animals, and they are free spirits, even the tamed ones.
I'm sorry, guys, I'm laughing because that is me.
That's you. That's why I'm saying, like, these are the messages that I get from horse, and it's like, yeah, I can fucking see it. But what that also means is, I really don't think you have to own a horse for you to have that fulfillment of working with horse magic. And the other thing that popped into my mind as you were talking, like about Reiki and working with horses and things like that, was the term equine assisted therapy.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, same. So there are different types of therapy where they take people with developmental disabilities, children who are on the autism spectrum, convicts, things like that, and have them work with horses, either riding them if they're, able to, but having that bond with the horse really helps people to heal their spirits.
I feel that part because that's how I feel when I'm with them. Like I definitely get that feeling from like dogs for sure, especially because I work with them every day. But horses though, they just like, there's something, my little heart just whinnies with glee.
And
Oh
when
my goodness.
when
I'm
you
a
first
boob.
mentioned the book and you said it jumped out at you, then I envisioned the horse jumping over, a jump and everything too. And it has this long black mane like you do and everything.
Yeah.
That's what I envisioned.
That I also had a fun giggle with. So for my birthday, I was gifted a wonderful opportunity to go see Catherine Lane, the hair witch. And I had been sitting there, we kind of chatted for a bunch of minutes, and then we finally got started, and she laid me down on the table and started washing my hair. And like, I'm telling you, she had like gone like scritch, 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 and she like took her hands off of my head and said, "What the fuck with horses?" And I just started cracking up laughing, because like we had never met in person before. The only conversation that she and I have actually had is the one that we had on the podcast. So like, she doesn't know anything about me, and that I just had like, this is how you know magic is real, guys.
Right. What with horses?
I love that. And that makes me think about like you actually like using your hair to like invite in that magic. I fucking love hair magic.
Yes.
Yes, totally.
Hair
witch.
Damn. That's so cool.
Yeah, you're pretty dope.
So your home is a farm inside of your heart.
Absolutely.
Full of horses.
Absolutely. Full of horses. Just full of horses.
If you had a horse, what would you name it? Or would the name come with the horse?
The name would have to come with the horse for sure. For sure.
I like it.
Because they're all, everybody's got a different, you got to get to know them first.
This is true. Do y'all get names when y'all are like with the pets and working with the pets?
Definitely.
Totally. And some of them don't like their names. Some of them think they're stupid.
Yeah. Yep. So, at the shelter, when the pets would come in, we would have to give them a name like right away. So there's some way to identify them, obviously. And it was like one of the hardest fucking jobs, because like that's how this thing is going to be known. And like, if I pick like some stupid name, then maybe this pet won't find a home because it has a dumb name. Like, so I always felt a lot of pressure about naming. And whenever I'm fostering a pet that's a stray, like I give it a few days so I can kind of get to know their personality and everything and let the name come to me.
And also, just a cautionary tale to everyone out there. Just be mindful of what you name said pets, because sometimes putting a name to them brings things to fruition. This is a true ass story, you guys. I saw this with my own two eyes. We worked in an emergency vet for many years. And one of these dogs, this little 6-month-old Belgian Malinois named Chewy, literally ate like a 6-7 inch paring knife that we had to go cut out of his stomach.
What?
So like, I've never told you that, Adriana. Oh my God, it's one of my favorites. The owner was cutting something, set the knife just barely the handle off the edge of the table. The dog jumps up and grabs the knife by the handle. So then picture this, everyone. I love this story so much. She's trying to get the knife away from Chewy, but he's got it in his mouth by the handle. So he's like brandishing it at her, like as she's trying to get it from him.
Oh my God.
And this motherfucker swallowed it. And like the lady comes in, she's like, oh my God, my dog swallowed a knife. We're like, fuck you. There's no way that's true. And then we take the x-ray and go, well, son of a bitch, would you look at that? That's a knife in there. Like, yeah. Oh yeah. I have pictures and everything. So yeah, just be mindful what you name your pet.
Yes.
Wow. That's
fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. So there are tons of name stories like that, but the caution that I want to give is naming them after deities and spirits.
Yep.
Make sure you really understand the energy of that before you name your pet that. And right now, with the resurgence of all the popularity of the Vikings and everything like that, I've seen so many pets named Loki lately.
And they all are sketchy.
And I myself, I love Loki and I know how to respect him, but I would not name a kitten that.
I would not name a kitten that. My sister My sister named her cat Nyx, goddess of the night, and for the first half of her life,
I would not love Nyx. Thank you, Nyx, but no,
yeah,
absolutely
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I saw. I think I'm glad I asked y'all about the names because I had saw someone had named their cat Sir Asshole Pants, and I nearly wanted to cry for that pet because why would you do that? Why?
that ain't even right.
That's
That ain't
not
even
right.
right.
That's not
That ain't
right.
even right.
But
Oh, the poor people at the vet that probably have to deal with that cat. Or sometimes they're the complete opposite. So maybe, hopefully, Mr. Asshole Pants was nice.
really sweet. Really, hopefully. I don't know.
Doubtful.
I don't know.
Last thing I'm gonna say about a name is we have a cat named Bitchface that comes in.
What?
Yeah.
Tell me about
Nacho-
Bitchface, Becky.
Two cats, Nacho and Bitchface, and
Wow.
that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm sure that she earned her name at home, but she's not very pleasant to work with at the vet. But fortunately, she stays pretty healthy, so she doesn't have to come in.
Well, that's a bonus.
But we don't, honestly, I would say, me personally and us at our clinic, working in veterinary medicine, we don't really hold it against them if they're assholes when they come to the vet because, of course, they don't want to be there, especially a cat.
Yeah.
And a cat, like, I try to explain this to owners because they're like, oh, I just don't know why it's so hard to get them in the carrier and they hate coming in and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, the only time your cat leaves the house is when you shove them in a box, put them in a car, then they come in here in an unfamiliar place and we're poking and prodding them. We're strangers. It smells
Everything
like dog.
smells weird,
Like,
right?
it's so fucking weird for them. It's not like a dog where you're like, oh, we're gonna go for a walk, we're gonna go get ice cream, like whatever.
Right.
The only time your cat leaves the house is when something terrible is gonna happen. So of course
Totally.
they don't want to leave.
Absolutely.
I tell owners every day, like, the same thing, especially with cats when they're like, oh, they hate being here. And I'm like, I also hate going to the doctor. Like,
I don't blame them.
like, no, yeah, like my blood pressure always tends to be a little high when I'm at the doctor, and like they're like, is everything okay? I'm like, I just hate being here.
Yeah, and also you understand that you're there for them to help you. The cat might think that you're trying to fucking murder them.
Exactly.
That's definitely what they think.
100%. This, we have to do a pet episode. We have
Oh, yes.
to.
Yes.
Let's
trying
do
to
it.
find
I'm
it-
down.
I've been trying to find the right guest for us to interview because we know a few pet psychics and psychic mediums, and I think that would be a great way to have our pet discussion if we could get one of them as guests on here. So that's what I'm kind of holding out for. So, well, got that in the works. I got two ladies that I have feelers out to, and I hope that we can get them on here. So just need you guys to put your energy into that so they psychically hear my messages too.
Noted.
Send out noted, yes.
Because Facebook Messenger isn't working. We use some of our telepathic communication.
Yes.
Well, ladies, we are coming up on time. How are we feeling? Any last nuggets of wisdom or questions?
I guess I have one more thing to say about we were talking about animals and pets and everything, and with the conversation of home and hearth, I feel like that's why it's so important for us in our culture to keep pets, to have pets, because they bring us so much comfort in our homes. For people like us who don't have children, they are our families. And whenever I come home from work, after a hard day, and I see my dog who's like happy to greet me and everything, it makes me just feel a little bit more complete and better about the day and my situation in life.
I 100, and I'm so glad that we're going to have a whole episode about this, because this is something that I feel really deeply about, that people always look so far outside of the home for like healing tools and things to help you on that journey, when your pets are 100% one of the biggest gauges you can use for like your own emotional stability. Because this is something that Becky can definitely attest to. We've talked about it many times, and I feel really deeply about animal behavior and trying to understand what they're trying to say. And people don't realize how much of a mirror they are for you. That we tell people constantly when they come in, especially with like really nervous and scared dogs. 9 out of 10 times, if you've got a really nervous and scared dog on the table, it's because the owner's in the corner going, oh my God, don't hurt them. Oh my God, I hope they're going to be okay. Oh, I'm just really nervous about all this, and if you can take a minute to check your emotions, it's the same for them. If they're, for some reason, if you've got your dog laying on the couch and it's yawning for some reason, something stressful is going on in the environment. And like, I could talk about this for hours and hours because I feel very passionately about that. But as we said, we're going to have a whole episode.
That's a word right there. Yeah, I'm going to take that nugget of wisdom. We're going to be getting a puppy soon. Yeah, I'm really excited. Because when we got Bailey, he was already 6 months. Still a puppy, but he wasn't like small. And I just want to make sure that we do a good job of socializing. Because I think Bailey's okay. He's still a little anxious. But you're 100% right. The last doctor visit we had, he was the most calm he's been at the doctor, and it's because both of us were just like chilling. We were just sitting there calmly answering questions and just not really doing the whole like, come here, or, you're okay, or all of that. So a word.
Last thing, I just really want to thank Annalisa for putting together this podcast and giving us a place that we can feel at home together and practicing our magic out in public.
Oh,
thank you.
Yes, and I think that's a good note for us to kind of close on, because it's such a healing space for us too. Like we've said it before, and we'll definitely say it again. I am certainly no authority on any of this. This is me living this magical journey, like Becky said, out loud finally, to just, I'm just trying to heal. And so one of my teacher and I, we joke all the time about that, like the only goal in this lifetime is fucking ascension, because I don't want to have to come back and do this again. Like I want to learn all my lessons and clear all my fucking karma and just let's move on. Let's move on,
That part right there. Thank you, ladies, so much for such a fulfilling, nourishing conversation today. And we hope that you all enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to do all the things like it, share it, listen to it again, and have a beautiful day and stay magical.
Stay magical.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Magical Aspirations. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Magical Aspirations to keep up with the latest and the greatest from Annalisa, Adriana, and Reverend Raven, and to join in on the Magical Aspirations conversations. Come check out our website, magicalaspirations.com, to find bonuses from our guests, our Magical Aspirations blog, and to reach out to our magical hosts with questions, comments, reviews, or ideas for future episodes. We are so grateful for each and every one of you listening. Thank you again, and as always, stay true to your magic.